All right, my name is Daniel, and I have a lot of slides to go through. So what I did was I brought myself a laser pointer, a green one. The other one's red, this one's green. But I have a lot of slides to go through tonight. So what I decided to do was I'm going to use this one instead, because I can point at all the things at once. So, and thank you. It's been a great night. I'm going to have to use this one. So tonight, we're going to kind of go a different direction than what Astronomy on Tap actually normally goes, and it's going to be fun. And the whole point of this is just to have fun, be inspired, and learn something new. I love Astronomy on Tap. I love the folks that do the speeches here, and we have a great speech before me, a great speech after me. I'm sandwiched between greatness tonight. So tonight, we're going to go off into the world of spy technology. So what does that actually look like? Do I have this thing in the right direction? Hey, here we go. So let me tell you a little bit about myself. My name is Daniel G Bennis, and I'm the founder of Daniel G Bennis Science Shows. I go all over the state of Texas, and I perform and present science, STEM, STEAM, a really fun way, maybe not the funnest way, but a fun way. Definitely, and to schools, school districts, libraries, academies, Boy Scouts, Austin Maker Fair, South by Southwest Interactive. They've been sponsors for a long time now, so you'll probably see me at Maker Fair Austin this year with a giant booth. And so this is what I do, and I'm gonna like rip through these very quickly, so don't worry about reading everything. But we work on physics, lots of fun stuff with physics. There you can see the chain that's like flowing up into the air, defying the gravity, and all that kind of fun stuff. Also chemistry. So with chemistry, you have exciting chemical reactions, polymer magic, dry escapades. So you can see the center photo is my favorite one. That's black powder, and it's like 3.5 feet of fire coming out of a crucible in my hand. I mean, how much more fun could it be? And schools will let me do this. It's great. All right, and voltage and electricity, one of my most favorite things of all. I love high voltage. I have an amazing collection of antique technology. Some of it's here tonight, and I'll introduce you to that shortly. But here we go. You know, we have Tesla coil systems down there, Van de Graaff generators, steam engine, stuff like that. So now, it's not all about that. It's also space. So a couple years ago, I helped design and teach a space science camp. This right here was my assistant, who has a master's in physics, by the way. No, a PhD, I'm sorry, a PhD in physics, and she was my assistant. That was just humbling in every possible way. So we built a space shuttle cockpit, 134 of the STS. I was one of the lucky people that got to sign the welcome home down at Johnson Space Center when they came back for the second to the last space shuttle mission. Here we're building that shuttle cockpit. You can see right there, it's got LEDs and screens and all kinds of fun stuff, and you get to meet Yoda. All right. Now here's some of my antique stuff. So that's a 1905 Edison phonograph, Van de Graaff generator from the Museum of Science and Technology in Chicago. I got that at auction. Lots of fun stuff. Some of that stuff's not here tonight, but some really cool stuff is. And there's just a list of some of the things that I bring. If you have any questions, by the way, please come see me later. Now, all science makes Jack a dull boy. So I don't always wear this hat. Sometimes I let my hair down and I go out into nature, which we all should do occasionally, more often than not. So I've been a former outdoor school instructor, EMT, and first responder. I've competed in the Archaeo Olympics primitive skills competitions, and so I also teach children's survival courses, and for adults as well, that involve wilderness first aid, improvised weapons, and all kinds of fun stuff, maintaining a positive mental attitude. That's really important. Now, with no further ado, actually, I will say one quick thing. I've been really fortunate this year, the last 2 years, that my shows have grown significantly. So they've been featured on television twice now, in numerous magazines, including Texas Monthly and the New York Times. So I've watched this grow, and the mission statement that I have is to inspire people to inspire others. It's a little bit longer than that, but that's basically it. Also, to blow fuses, void warranties, and don't worry about poking your eyeballs out. Because if you own something and you haven't opened it, you really don't own it. All right. And now, with no further ado, good evening, Austin Astronomy on Tap. I guess I should say this like in a voice. Your mission, should you decide to accept it, is to slip. No, I'm just not going to. There's too many S's in there. I could get in trouble. Slip the surly bonds of Earth, explore the heavens, and if possible, be inspired and learn something new and exciting. This PowerPoint will self-destruct in 6.71 times 8 to the 10th. That's the speed of light. All right, the role of technology in space and spy missions. Let's delve into a dark world for a moment here. Indulge me. And I have one rule. We're going to play a drinking game tonight. When you see the hidden Lego James Webb telescope right there, there's a Lego version of it, raise your glass. All right, so tonight we're going to talk about 001, the field telephones of World War II, from selling cotton to guiding tanks. 002, from here to eternity, the Cubit Corporation, from land surveying to aerospace combat. 003, who hacked our typewriters? Here's a clue. It was the Russians. All right. 004, silencers, bugs, poop, and other strange spy things. Funny, in my original version, I had capitalized poop, whatever. 005, inspired by the theremin, how a once useless sound-making device made one of the most unusual bugs ever made. 006, a Manhattan, please, shaken and not stirred. We'll talk about and we'll meet tonight a member of Manhattan Project. He's here with me now. All right, 007, the spy who loves you. And that's about it. Thanks. Good night. No. All right. So if there are any government employees here tonight, you do not have to leave. All the things you'll see tonight have been long since declassified. I have to say that or something. I don't know. Maybe I don't. Whatever. Who cares? Starting 001, the field telephones of World War II. So I have with me tonight something really, really cool. I'm going to set this guy right here. It's a friend of mine. All right. Now, this is a field telephone from World War II. This was made by Siemens Company. Now, Siemens is still around today. We've heard the name. But this is from 1936. This is a Type F Bakelite war field telephone. So you saw various versions of these like in the MASH series. But these were used in Britain. They were also used in America. They were first used to talk about cotton and like, hey, we have bales of cotton coming into this port. You need to go get them. By the way, back here is a real telegraph from the 1880s. Feel free to go over there and tap on it. You can hear it click. But this guy right here is interesting. If I come over here and I crank this crank, watch what happens to this one. All right. So there's an actual dynamo inside there, and I've got these kind of hacked to run off of 9-volt batteries. But what you have right now is just running off a dynamo. Very, very cool stuff. So Siemens Brothers actually developed dynamos, and that's what helped them lead into this. What else did Siemens Brothers do? Well, they were one of the first to make an automatic trunk telephone system, marine shortwave radio, electric train arrival indicator, and transatlantic telephone cable. Now, one of your trivia questions involves this right here. Yes, the Siemens Brothers actually built this in 1874, built this tall-masted ship. This was one of the very first ships to ever lay transatlantic cable under the ocean. Cool stuff. All right, 002. From here to eternity, land serving to aerospace combat. Let's talk about the Cubit Corporation for a moment. Now, I did this speech at Dorkbot a couple months ago, and it turns out there was somebody here from the Dorkbot Corporation that was flabbergasted that I actually brought a couple devices that just really don't exist anywhere in the world anymore. I've got two of the rarest devices that ever in the country. A Google search will bring up one result. Seriously. And two of them are here tonight. Cubit Corporation started out in EDM. This predates electronic dance music, but this was electromagnetic distance measuring ranging system. This uses a microwave magnetron, resonant cavity, and waveguide. And it features full duplex two-way voice communications. Now, so Cubit started by creating a device that was able of ranging 50 miles in between these two devices and telling the distance with an accuracy of 2 centimeters plus minus, up to 155 miles with a larger disc antenna. And I happen to bring one with me tonight. So here it is. All right. This is a Cubit Corporation Electrotape DM20. And on the front here is the control panel. I can flip this on, fully powered. And on the back is a small dish that sends out radar. Now, the microwave energy that comes from this is in the gigahertz range, and I've got another one pointed at me right now. So if I point this, if we had these headphones on, we'd be able to talk in full duplex. And by the way, it's encrypted. This was 1950s. These were $6,000 a piece in the 50s. I did an inflation calculator. Right now, these two devices are somewhere between $68,000 and $75,000 for the pair. Unfortunately, I couldn't sell these on eBay for more than about $200 if I wanted. There's a pair on eBay right now that's been there. I've been watching it. Because I'm a geek. All right. So what else did Cubit do? Well, I had to really, really dig hard to find anything pertaining to the state of Texas and these devices, but I found them from the Texas Highway Department. These are two forms that were used. Apparently, a pair of these were used to help land survey the Austin area. So if you have any questions, you can come back and find me over here at my booth later. Now, what else did Cubit do? Well, very quickly, the government got a hold of them and they said, hey, we need you to do stuff. So they created the Secord geodetic surveying system. This is called Secord Sequential Collation of Range. These devices were pre-Navstar and pre-GPS. From 1962 to 1969, Cubit made 13 satellites weighing about 39 pounds apiece, and these were flying around up there. I wonder where they are. They might still be up there. You know, when we see those things about like, oh my God, it was a UFO, it's probably just one of these poor suckers that ran out of juice 50 years ago that's just floating around up there. It's just going to hit something one day, and it's just going to cascade into just a hell in space. I don't even know. All right. Nowadays, they also are. They're actually known as Cubit Global Defense Systems. Now, the looks like from my computer to the one here tonight changed a little bit, and some of it's missing. But they had they recently signed a contract with Lockheed Martin. Bit of history, both these devices were once owned by Lockheed Martin. I have them. I probably won't talk about how I obtained them. 003, who hacked our typewriters? Here's a hint, it was the Russians. In the 1970s, the Russians devised one of the most incredible plans ever to hijack a load of these typewriters, IBM Selectrics, #1 and #2, and turn them into the most amazing spy devices ever made. This was a trivia question, by the way. What did they do? Well, here's the inside. So the Russians got a hold of this. We're going to talk about Russians a lot. Anybody here from Russia? Anybody? Because, like, I'm talking about you tonight. Tonight's your night. All right. Darn Russians and Americans anyway. Now, so inside this device, they found every single area that they could hide something, and they did just that. This was known as the Selectric Bug. Now, right up here, we have a set of combs. These are springs. And right here, that's just crazy. And right here, all of this, where you can see the screw there, all this black part, all this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, looks like the keys on a keyboard, all this stuff right here, these were pre-manufactured by the Russians before they even hijacked these guys. They had to have this ready. They had 1 hour to install this. They got the truck. They had a guy actually come in like UPS driver. Yeah, I'm here to pick up your Selectric typewriters, and then I'll bring them back in an hour. So, and when they did, wow, did things get crazy. So what would happen if you were typing on an IBM typewriter and there was a bug inside there that actually tapped off the energy of the keys you're pressing? You'd probably notice because you'd have to press harder on those keys, right? The Russians thought of that. These springs right up here actually balanced out the pressure on those keys. This was the very first keylogger ever. And it would store the information inside this board down here. Now, inside this board was a radio transmitter, a core memory, and some other good stuff. Now, what is core memory? If you've never seen core memory in your life, it's one of the most amazing things ever. Core memory is like little tiny ferrite cores, little beads that look like little donuts made of ferrite. Now, you can magnetize them with electricity, either left or right. Left was a 0, right was a 1, or depending on how you programmed it. So this was binary. Now, if you could sit out here and count this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, each one of those is a bit. So however many that is, that's a small unit right there. So not a lot of memory in here. This device would store the key logs from the previous hour or so into this core memory. And then with somebody sitting in a van out in the street with a remote control, they could trigger and get a burst back of all the information. Now, everyone was on to like radio frequencies back then, right? So how did they hide this? It was ingenious. They would set these up next to really strong television stations, and they would hide the pulses in the carrier wave of the actual TV transmission. Folks at home might notice just a little bit of like snow on the screen momentarily, and that's about it. Now, what does core memory look like? I brought some. So this is a piece of Russian core memory right here. I'll have this back there with me, by the way, so if you want to come take a look at it, please do. This is there are about 6,000 of these little cores on here, so this is a 6K, actually it's about 3K memory right here. And this is just stunning, all the diodes that control it. So, all these things in my hands. Now, let's go to the next one. So, we're going to move on from that. We're going to talk now about silencers, bugs, poop, and other strange spy things. These are devices, we've all seen these, in the Get Smart series, in James Bond, things like that. But these were real. So here we have a cipher disk that was actually used long ago. Now, this guy here's a camera on your wrist. If you saw this, I don't know, but in the 1950s, I would think something was up. You're not going to hide that, right? Now, the film that came in the canister had to go into a darkroom. You had to cut it with a razor blade and custom form the size of it. By the way, this little micro dot camera, same thing. I had to custom make the film. Nobody was making film for these. Maxwell Smart's transmitter shoe, a real thing. And this is a data acquisition and telemetry device hidden inside of a log. It's a real deal. Now, time to spray for bugs. I'm a big fan of bugs, and I also despise them with all my soul. I like the ones like this one. Now, here's a one transistor transmitter, the simplest on earth. This will transmit audio up to a range of about 30 feet or so, right? Now, there are passive and there are active. Active have a power source of their own. Passive require an additional or an outside radio source to illuminate them and get them to transmit back. A good example is RFIDs. Here's one inside like a typical book at Barnes & Noble, whatever. Here's one that's like a little bigger than a grain of rice, and this was embedded inside of a man's hand. Ain't gonna happen to this boy. I'm going down fighting. All right, I'm going out fighting. Now, but these things are able to be read like 2,000 feet away now and having a tremendous amount of energy in them. Crazy, crazy stuff. That's where we're going now. That's one of the ways we're going. Now, I'm not going to get into the NSA stuff. 2 weeks ago, I did a public speech for Electronic Frontier Foundation that fights for our global freedoms. Thank you. These guys are wonderful. Support them if you can, because they're fighting for your freedoms in an information age, in a digital age. But I went down kind of a dark path there. So it's online, but I don't even post it on my science shows because I got kids and families and stuff. We keep them separated, but I support that. All right, what's next? One of the craziest transmitters, one of my favorites. By the way, while you guys are drinking, I want to go ahead and say this dog had a lot of fiber. All right. So, moving on. Pew, pew, pew. What would a James Bond movie be without a silencer? All right. We have to talk about weapons. We got to. All right. James Bond's weapon of choice was a Walther PPK. And this is a silencer. Now, why does this play in here? Two reasons. One, it was the silencers were invented by Hiram Percy Maxim. He was the co-founder of the American Radio Relay League. I've got a couple of devices back there that would be of interest to him. They reduce muzzle sound, recoil, flash, and muzzle rise. Now, to own one, you have to have a permit from the Department of Justice through the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, the ATF. You have to pay a $200 serialized tax stamp and have it stamped by an ATF agent. And extensive background check and unauthorized possession is a felony, 10 years in prison, $100,000 fine. I'm going to treat you to something special. All right. So tonight, I brought with me a silencer. Now, this is the real deal. I got permission from the North Door, by the way, to be able to do this. There's my permit right here. Here's the actual silencer. This has been issued to me by the Department of Justice. All right, this is a .45 caliber suppressor, and it makes a pistol sound like a pneumatic framing nail gun. So if you have any questions about that, feel free to come up afterwards. And there it is right there, one of the most advanced suppressors made ever. All right, number 5, inspired by the theorem and how a once useless noisemaker inspired one of the most unusual bugs ever made. This is crazy. This right here sat in a U.S. embassy gifted by the Russians. All right, there it is. Right there, under that beak is a hole. Inside that hole is a device known as the Thing. All right, this was a passive resonant cavity device. There were no electronics in here, no batteries, no electronics, no transmitters, just mechanical materials here. And when it was hit by an 800 megahertz signal, it reflected back a 1.6 gigahertz signal and played back all the audio in the room. This was not discovered for about 12 years. All right, now, something closer to home. This is tracking you right now. This is a DocuColor tracking. This is all your laser printers do this. People started, printing money. So, Electronic Frontier Foundation discovered this, and so there's 3 dots, one there, one there, one there. Highlighted from the back with blue LEDs, you can see a pattern emerge, and then they deciphered it. This transmits your your serial number, and the date that it was printed. This is happening right now, just so you know. Sleep well tonight. All right, Manhattan, please, shaken, not stirred. Let's talk about atomic energy for a moment. The Manhattan Project was the project that developed the very first atomic bomb that was exploded in Trinity, New Mexico. That's the bomb, and that's a brave dude right there. He's probably no longer with us. Okay? July 16th, 1945. They always did these in the morning because they just wanted to wake the hell out of everybody. Hello! It's just a 1.5 mile crater. All right, there's the Enola Gay, something special, near and dear to me. Now, there's mixed emotions about this dude. This is Captain Paul Tibbett. He piloted this plane that dropped the bomb on Hiroshima. So, Japan. This was a lot of lost innocent souls, sad history. But I've been able, as a child, I was able to crawl through the tube from fore to aft on this plane. You can no longer do that. It was a rare experience, and I'm really excited to be able to do it. There's a lot of movies with John in Hollywood. I can't even think of who the actors are right now that have been in this, but it's amazing. And now, the rainbow bombs. In case you didn't know this is sad. Between 1958 and 1962, the Soviet Union and America launched 21 high-altitude nuclear bombs into space. Why? They wanted to see the effect on the Van Allen belts. A trivia question, by the way. This was known as Starfish Prime. It has nothing to do with starfish. I totally threw you off with those trivia questions. All right, 1.4 million tons of TNT were detonated in the atmosphere. And here we can see the rainbow colors as the fallout reacted with oxygen and nitrogen through the Van Allen belts. Now, the Van Allen belts were just discovered. So our motto apparently was discover it and then immediately blow it up. True. If you want to see more of this movie right here was narrated by William Shatner. It's great. Now, say hello to my little radioactive friend. This device here was once owned by Los Alamos National Laboratory, the Naval Research Laboratory, and the Atomic Energy Commission. This is a Leeds and Northrop 5300 Type S Wheatstone Decade box. This was used in the Manhattan Project. I have the provenance that backs it up. I bought this legally at auction. This is an amazing thing. I'll bring it back here if you want to touch it. Feel free to do it. But this has got a lot of history behind it, both sad and amazing. All right. And wires, cables, things to hold on to. 007. A message from the spy who loves you. Who's that? It's me. I love all of you. All right. Until next time, have a great night. Now, I will say, what you see here, what you do here, what you hear here, when you leave here, let it stay here. In other words, what happens at Astronomy on Tap stays at Astronomy on Tap. I want to thank Astronomy on Tap for having me out tonight, and also to Rebecca Larson, a.k.a. Chaos Cloud, for inviting me. It's science magic. Thank you, guys.
Thank you for that wonderful talk. So we're going to have time for just one question. So who?
I went a little long. By the way, 2 weeks ago, I had to do the same speech, and they wanted me to draw it out to an hour and a half. My tongue's sore.
Really? No one wants to ask?
So
ask
one question. Yes. Right there in the middle? Yes. I'm sorry? The Lego showed up 17 times? You should all be drunk. Why aren't you drunk? All right, start drinking now. Catch up, people. Come on. This isn't science.
Do we have one question? Okay, here on the stairs.
Yes. This was used to replace a single transistor in a circuit. This is so when they were building and designing electronic circuits, and you wanted to like really make that circuit ring and do what it was supposed to really do properly and be most efficient, you could take a single transistor and remove it, and then plug this in with these two leads, and you could dial in every single resistance from fractions of an ohm all the way up to multiple millions of ohms. And once you found where the circuit rang, you'd move on to the next device. Slow, meticulous process, but this. But it would not have happened by this. Now, how was this used? Was this used to was it connected to the bomb and they blew it up? I don't know. Probably in a room, in a back room, that designed a circuit that controlled the circuit, but it was part of the project. But that's what this would be for.